Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. I'm here for Poppystamps today, and I have a new Valentine card using the Poppystamps Valentine Fairies stamps and dies. I am also using some really simple masking techniques, really basic coloring, and some distress oxide blending to create the sky and grass as well. So let's get started taking a look at these Valentine Fairies. This is the stamp set. It's super cute. It's got a bunch of sentiments. Some are specific to Valentine's Day, some are not. These are the coordinating dies, and I'm using wire snips to cut them apart. I like these wire snips because they have a point at the end, so they get into really tight areas. I had some other ones before that I was having trouble getting into those tiny little areas, and I really like these, and I'll link them down below for you. Okay, now I'm planning out my card. Some of this is going to be mostly one layer, so I am going to do some masking and some layering, and I'm going to stamp the things that are in the foreground first. That's kind of counterintuitive for me anyway, but so I'm going to stamp the two fairies and the little trail of hearts, and I'm using My Favorite Things hybrid black ink because I am going to be doing some Copic coloring on these fairies. I am stamping them on a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white cardstock panel, and this will be cut down because I did end up wanting to put a little border around the outside. For now, I am using my MISTI to do the stamping because I did want to double stamp and get a really nice crisp black outline. Now I'm going to stamp those same images on some Inkadinkado masking paper. I really like this masking paper. It stays down and lets you ink blend over it, but it's not so sticky that I have trouble getting it off. So it's like the best of both worlds. I'm also going to stamp the other images that I need on the card, and that is the little fairy heart wand and then the little bicycle as well, because I'm going to need those all cut out in order to do the ink blending. But first, in order to do the layered stamping, I just need those fairies. So I cut out the fairies. I'm fussy cutting them out with some nice sharp scissors, and then I'm going to lay the stamps that I want in the background over the masking. Again, to me that is super counterintuitive, but so I always have to think it out. I'm like, okay, I want this over that, so I need to stamp this first, that kind of thing. So just think, if you want something in the foreground, you're going to stamp that first, then you're going to layer the things in the background over your masking paper, protecting the stamping that's underneath. Okay, so again, with that bottom fairy, I want her in the foreground. She's kind of sitting on the bicycle seat with her legs hanging over. So I wanted her in the foreground, so I'm stamping the bicycle over the masked fairy, and that will be in the background. So again, I am still using the My Favorite Things hybrid black ink because I am going to do Copic coloring on all of this. And now it is time to lay down my other masks, including the little heart for the wand. I did not cut out the wand itself, just the heart. I will redraw the wand with a black pen. Now I'm cutting out some masking paper for a little hill, and I just hand cut something that I thought would work. For the height of the hill, I wanted the little bicycle rider fairy to be riding on a little grassy hill. And I wanted the rest of the card to be a nice blue, bright blue sky. And I like the Distress Oxide inks for this type of ink blending because it has kind of a chalky look. If you go kind of light-handed and don't really blend it all together, you get kind of a cloud, fluffy area look to it. I did decide to add some white pigment ink as well using that ink blender because I did want some more cloud look to the sky. Now I'm coming in with some green Distress Oxide inks. I started with the Twisted Citron. It wasn't green enough for me, so then I went in with Lucky. And now I'm just peeling off my masks, and you can see that the masking paper protected my stamped images perfectly, and you can see that the little wand is held in her hand because we stamped it over the masked fairy, and the little bicycle riding fairy is sitting on the bike seat with her legs hanging over that front there. So all that really easy masking just really made an impact on this card, I think, making it the really cute one layer that it is. So now I'm going in with some Copics over some of the Distress Oxide inks just to create some texture for the grass. I also realized that I hadn't cut out the wheels, so I added some spokes with a pen, and then I also colored them in with some green just so that it looked like they were see-through, you know, that there was a hole in the wheel except for the spokes. I did cut out a scalloped border with the stitched scallop borders from Poppystamps. So I cut down our little fairy panel there to smaller than that scalloped border, and I'm just going to place that right on the outside. I like how the purple cardstock coordinates with the purple in the shirt and the dress, and I really just thought that the scalloped edge was really cute for this little fairy scene. Now I'm going to add some Tonic Studios Nouveau Jewel Drops. I'm going to add some blue to the light blue wings on the bicycle riding fairy, and then I'm going to add a light pink jewel drop to the light pink wings of the little flying fairy there. So these dry translucent with a hint of color. I used very, very light Copics to color their wings, so it all kind of goes really well together. And then I'm going to use the slightly red tinted jewel drops for the red heart on the wand. For these little hearts that I stamped that are kind of that trail of hearts from her wand, you can also use this trail behind the bicycle as well. I'm going to use Tonic Studios Nouveau Crystal Drops. Now these are opaque, so since the hearts were kind of covered up with the Distress Oxide inks, I did decide to just fill them in completely with an opaque color. Then I wanted the trail to stretch a little bit further closer to the wand, and I didn't stamp it the right way. So I just created my own tiny little hearts and a couple of little dots to make that little trail go all the way from the wand to the corner of the page. I realized I needed a sentiment, so I grabbed one of the sentiments from the stamp set, All My Love to You, and just stamped it with some VersaFine ink, which shows up really beautifully even on top of that Distress Oxide background. I used the same ink to stamp the large heart from the stamp set as well, and once that was dry, I die cut it out using the coordinating dies, put a little piece of foam tape behind it, and I'm just going to place it in the hand of that bicycle riding fairy, and that's going to be the only thing that's really popped up on the card. So I just really like the way that most of the card is one layer and then this really large purple heart is popped up. So I'm going to take some Spectrum Noir shimmer pen in the clear shimmer, and I'm just going to cover the clothes of the fairy, their little shoes, and that large purple heart as well. I'm going to be careful to color inside the VersaFine ink. I don't know if it would smear with the Spectrum Noir clear shimmer pen, but I suspect that it might, so I decided to try to stay within the lines and just add a touch of shimmer. This doesn't add like big chunky glitter or anything. I just like the really hint of shimmer that it adds, and you can see it there. It's got tons of shine, which is really nice with the rest of the shine from the Tonic Studios Nouveau Crystal Drops as well. Okay, so I thought it just needed a little bit more shine and always have to add some sequins. So I'm using my jewel picker to pick up some sequins that I placed on the card, some dots of the Thermoweb iCraft mixed media adhesive. I have it in a really fine tip bottle. I will link to all of those down below as well so you can check them out. I have finally found some fine tip bottles that have lasted me a while without really clogging horribly, so I am happy with these. And that completes my Valentine card with the Valentine fairies with some really simple masking and coloring. So if you're interested in any of the supplies that I used, they will all be linked down below. You got to check out these new supplies from Poppystamps. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, check out my blog, and I'll have some other videos for you to look at as well. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Have a wonderful day.